Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of Podleaders. I am thrilled to welcome Dan Fischer, all the way from, I don't know whether you're which area of Australia you're in it today.
To be honest, I don't know either. I'm in Sydney right now. I'm at
You're in
home,
Sydney.
but I'm off to
Brilliant.
Brisbane tomorrow. Was in Brisbane last week. Was in Adelaide on the weekend. So I
My
get around a bit.
word.
Australia is my home. Let's just say that.
Okay, brilliant. Well, thank you so much, and thank you so much for joining us. It's really brilliant to be welcoming a friend on here as well, which is so nice.
It's
I mean,
great.
all of my guests are friends, but we had the privilege of hanging out a little bit at the last T2RL conference, which was fabulous, and we managed to grab a lovely dinner as well, which was nice.
We did. It was good chat. Great chat, actually.
Yeah.
And then this time we're just recording it. So
Yeah, I know exactly. I said, can we just do this again so other people can listen to it? Because it's gold. It is gold. So, as always, I just want to start at the beginning, if that's okay, Dan. So, our listeners always like to hear how people are sat where they are. So, and just to summarise where you are at the moment, your current role is?
I'm head of product, digital products at Virgin Australia, which also includes kind of oversight from a customer and digital perspective over our offer order program, amongst a whole bunch of other things. But that's where I'm at the moment. But I started in a much different place. I was enrolled in engineering at school to do at uni, and I kind of had this inkling that it wasn't quite right. My dad was a journalist, and I always said I'm never going to be that. I'm never. And some of your other guests on this podcast have also said that they were never going to get into, I guess, the careers that their parents had. But sure enough, I ended up studying journalism at school, and, at university, and so really it was, I had goals of entering the media. But I just circumstance had an opportunity to move to Sydney. And when I did that, I kind of got a job. I was kind of working for a Telstra, a telecommunications company, all throughout school here, in a variety of roles. But the opportunity I had to move to Sydney. I looked for a job with Telstra. And at that time, broadband internet was just booming in Australia. And so we were just Telstra at the time was bringing to life its broadband product, $29.95 or £15 broadband internet, which was quite a popular deal. So I got a job actually writing the user guide. There was a physical paper user guide that got sent to all new broadband subscribers. And so that kind of led to another thing, which was writing self-help content for the website. And then because the business had scaled so quickly, its average calls per activation was something like 8 calls per activation. And so and then there was ongoing calls throughout a customer lifecycle. So there was a real opportunity to develop some digital self-service utility. And that's how I really kind of had my first pivot from writing and from kind of media into digital product, really, creating all these digital products. And from there, I moved into Big Pond Movies. So that was kind of like a Netflix before.
That's cool.
Yeah, so we sent out physical DVDs in the mail, and we also had video streaming before Netflix was even streaming video. So it was a real it was an opportunity that I loved. It was kind of being part of a revolution in a way, and so from that stage I kind of got hooked on innovation and solving problems for customers in new ways, and all of that, and digital product. But then we wound up the DVDs business because it was kind of not sustainable. Australia Post charged us a lot of money And also we'd have a fair bit of breakage. And so had an opportunity, was part of winding up that business, and then had an opportunity to move over to News Corp. So getting back to kind of media roots, but in a digital storytelling type role. And I thought, well, this is great. This is gonna fuse digital and digital product and digital experience with media, which is kind of how I was trained and where I'd had a lot of my kind of younger experience. And that was great. Loved that. But without wanting to get too political, I was working for News Corp, and let's just say my views didn't necessarily always align with what, with the kind of content that I had to produce and the kind of the decisions that I had to make on behalf of the organization. So and I guess at that point, it was kind of my first real like moment of reflection to kind of think, well, like, what is it that I value, and what do I stand for, and kind of what do I need to be employed successfully and doing meaningful work and all of that. And so it was a real defining moment. I had the job at News was great for kind of my age at the time and for the kinds of work that I was doing.
I was going to ask, how old were you? If you don't mind me asking, we're not
20
down, but
22.
Circa. My gosh, so that's really young to be able to make some really personal like choices. That wasn't so cool. Well done, Dan. My gosh.
Yeah, so it was kind of one of those, that was kind of like the first, it was a real defining moment, and
it's good.
I realized that, for me, I have to be connected to the work somehow. And I guess, I was kind of looking at roles, and I saw a job advertised at Qantas, which was a maternity leave cover. And I had this moment where as a kid, I had joined a choir. I had joined the Australian Youth Choir.
Oh, wow. Big deal.
Yeah, it was. And then my voice broke, and then so then I had to leave it. But the Australian Youth Choir was the choir that sang I Still Call Australia Home on the Qantas ad, which was something that I am still really, really proud of. It's one of the most iconic pieces of advertising to ever come out of Australia. And it's still talked about to this day, and it's still kind of reflected upon in that way, and was really, I guess, the catalyst for Qantas developing this kind of incredible patriotism that it has today. So I was super proud of that, but never in the back of my mind. Like, I loved aviation, I loved planes, I loved travel. I collected those. I used to go on planes when I was a kid, and I'd take home the headphones.
You're that guy.
Yeah, that guy. But the headphones were like made out of like plastic and rubber. They weren't even digital. They were just like, it was just piping the audio through into your ears. And so that was really funny. I don't have them anymore. Actually, I probably still do somewhere, but
they had like a really unique jack as well that you couldn't like use
that's right.
anywhere. Well, understandably.
Yeah, you couldn't possibly use it for anything else.
No, it was just a collecting thing. Yeah, I get it.
But I loved the experience. I loved the magic of it, and all of that. And so really I should have put two and two together far before I did. But I guess I never imagined that working at an airline was within the realm of possibility. And especially as a kid, I didn't really know what roles there were or how I could possibly add value. But having been in a telco for a bit, and then being in news as well, I kind of, I knew I could add value in terms of digital and technology at that point. So I just went for this role and got it. And, that was a real proud moment, I think. Qantas is such an iconic brand, and they were known for digital usability at that point, and they were really, it was a real honor to get that role. And then I joined and then I looked under the covers of what was driving the airline and the ecosystem around it. And you're like, oh boy, we've got, this is going to be tough. This is going to
This
be
is
real.
going to be fun. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. It's fun. And, you know, a lot of people would probably run in the other direction, but people like us, we're like, oh yeah, there are some gnarly problems to be solved here. And, you know, and so I really fell in love with that part of it.
Yeah.
It was, you know, it's about how to understand constraint and work with constraint to deliver a experience for customers that is seamless. And so that was really the challenge that I was certainly up for. So, so from there, I kind of, the team quickly grew. We actually, Qantas, just after I joined, and this is not because of me, I promise, announced worst loss in corporate Australia history. It was like a multi-billion-dollar loss. And I was like, okay, this is going to be hard to get things done. But you know
just
what?
get cost approval and stuff for stuff, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Tricky. Yeah.
But so the kind of the positioning had changed that Qantas needed to transform. So that's when Qantas saw the split of its domestic and international business and a focus on transformation. And I mean, you know, in hindsight, it was actually the perfect time to join because it was what gave me my first opportunity to actually start to make the case for and pioneer some change. So the first thing we did was wrote a case to create a mobile optimized website because at that time there was still the separate websites and you know, in the end, you know, I still remember the CFO at the time saying, why haven't I seen this case sooner? Like, this is obviously the thing that we should be doing. Why have I not seen this sooner? So, you know, so
that's wonderful to hear.
It's great to hear. Great to hear. And I think that was probably the second lesson that I had, which was, you know what, if the case stacks up, you know, and it's aligned to strategy and the timing is right, then, you know, things, you know, doors open, you know, and it's really about how you influence and bring people along for the ride. And that, you know, really you need that alignment right from the top. And so, you know, it was hard to do. There were a lot of people who were like, well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So the job was not only making a case that stacked up, but also kind of overcoming opinion and kind of resistance. So, you know, super grateful for that opportunity. And so when I was at Qantas, we redid the website from the full stack. So from the cloud, the integration layer and the front end, we built the mobile apps as well. And so, you know, that was a really wonderful opportunity. And, you know, I was still, I guess, relatively young at that point as well. And I quickly found myself like responsible for hundreds of people, you know, on programs and stuff. And
how was that journey? Because that can be really terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, I'd managed people at Telstra, you know, people who are far older than me, and that was kind of an interesting ride. But I think, you know, I had formed, I kind of drew upon the closest external experience that I had for leadership, which was netball. So for those listeners not in a country that plays netball, or if you don't know what netball is, it's kind of like basketball, but you can't run with the ball and
with
there's
sticky
no
feet. Yeah.
Sticky feet. That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
And it's actually a really wonderful game to watch. But one of the best things about netball that I love about it is that it was created by women for women. That's where its genesis really started. But my growing up in a netball family, my mum played and coached, my dad coached, my sister played and coached. And so here was me, like the youngest in the family, out at netball most nights a week. So I was just like, I just shot goals and while they were playing. And then the opportunity came up for me to play because they used to let boys play in the underage. But then I aged out of netball.
Okay.
And so it was really kind of hard for me to continue. But then I found this association, and there was kind of like this men's association and mixed association. And I found out that there was a pathway to play for the state and play for the country as well that kind of existed alongside the female version of the game. And so it was just luck, I think. Although I might have Googled, like I might have found it on the internet somehow, or been introduced somehow. I think someone maybe has spotted me or something. But so I kind of grew up alongside my kind of career playing semi-professional netball. So I played for South Australia, for New South Wales as well, and then was involved in a state league in Queensland when I was there. But I love playing the game. I love watching the game. And, what netball had taught me, and I think this is true of any team sport, right? You learn what it means, and especially in a kind of semi-professional environment, you kind of learn to understand each other's strengths, to draw out those strengths, and to not focus on any kind of understand your weaknesses, but not focus on them. Focus on drawing out the your strengths.
So true.
Yeah, and like understanding the role that everyone plays, understanding the role of a coach, understanding what it takes to be in peak fitness, and also aligning around a common strategy and goal, right? That's what you're there to do. There are many different ways to play the game. But if you don't rock up and play the same type of game that your teammates are playing, then you're going to get undone, and it's not going to be for the greater good. And so to kind of take it back to my leadership journey, I draw out those elements. And, so one of the things that I like to do, especially when forming a new team, is to understand how what makes everyone tick, but then also how do they connect to the work? And so, because I think that if you can find what drives people and then connect that to the work that you're doing, and then kind of align everyone around a common goal, that's where the magic happens. That's where you get your high performing team type stuff. And so, well, I think it's the foundation of it. You got to do a lot more to get high performing teams, but so that's where I like to start. And, understanding everyone's roles. And so that's kind of how I, kind of approach leadership. And then as you start to expand, it's, that job becomes infinitely harder. And so then it's about making sure that everyone is really highly aligned to the goal. But I also believe that we need to allow like a high degree of autonomy. So high alignment, high autonomy, allowing everyone the freedom to do their best work, but aligned to the goal. So, yeah.
Do you do that by constant communication? As you say, obviously, as the teams get bigger and you've got 100 people, it's really difficult to try and, your whole week would be spent trying to align everyone. How did you do that in Qantas?
It's about getting the people around you to advocate the same way that you do. Constantly referring back to the goal, making sure that your ceremonies that you have are built and designed around the outcomes that you want to achieve and the goals that you have. So, yeah, I mean, at Virgin now, which I guess we'll get to in a sec, but
Yeah, we haven't got.
yeah, not even there yet.
Oh my God.
But at every chance, I will tell anyone who will listen, actually, even if they don't want to listen,
Brilliant.
we're all about being Australia's most loved airline.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, we need to create lovable digital experiences. And, and then I kind of unpack what that actually means. And so that having a clear goal that's measurable and actually strikes a chord with people is actually, it's really easy. If you've got the right content, people people will kind of jump on board, right? So
Yeah, you're so right, Dan. I think just grabbing people and taking them on a journey as that they are aligned to and that they're passionate about. I mean that's a game changer for me even now. Otherwise, you're trying to push a boulder up a hill. Like people you really need to feel it to do it and to get up every Monday and start that week again. It's important.
And if
a lot of people forget that, I think.
I think so as well. And if you have a common thread that unites you, then it makes it easier to celebrate individuality, and it creates a kind of a psychologically safe environment for people to bring themselves and their whole selves to work. And that's one of the things that I find really quite incredible about Virgin Australia, to be honest. The culture was like that before I got there. Its DNA as a Virgin company is really, it celebrates its people, and to be able to fly that flag or carry that torch forward is an honor, but it's also been really easy to do because that's what our culture is just like by default, which is fantastic. So yeah.
Good. That's good. So we kind of finished at Qantas, unless there was yes. So I want to hear all about that move between the two, because obviously being in Australia as well, you've got a few options, but not too many options within the airline industry. And once you're in airline, it's in your blood, so you're not going anywhere else.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. And I found myself at a real, I guess a defining moment, right? Which was like, I think at Qantas, and I think maybe, I was probably guilty of feeling like Qantas was the brand. Like I sang in the band, like I felt like it was my home.
It's part of your home, yeah, of course.
Yeah, but there was some changes happening over, and so I thought that was it for me. But there were some changes happening on the other side of the fence, which, Paul Scurra had just taken the leadership of Virgin Australia at that point, and he'd done some great things at Horizon, and they laid out a bold plan to kind of reinvest in the direct channel and reinvest in the customer, because they had really found themselves biased towards the indirect channel, which was, the strategy at the time and corporates. And so we just wanted to get that balance back right. And we, I had a lot to offer in that space for Virgin Australia. And it was a really big decision at the time to, I guess, move at that point to Brisbane and take on the role. But I did it, and I'm so glad that I did, because I kind of felt like at the time I found my tribe, and that it was super welcoming, and the brand, the Virgin brand allows you to be a little bit more playful and take a few more risks than we ever could at Qantas, because just of what the Qantas
just
brand
who they are. Yeah,
is.
absolutely. Yeah.
So, so I guess that was my other, and I think what really drew me was the challenge, right?
Mm.
The business was not in good shape at that point, and like the Virgin Australia business, and doing a lot with very little was something that actually appealed to me. Believe it or not, some people might say, "Oh, you're a bit loopy to do that."
I feel like you don't like that comfortable space. Like
Yeah.
you quite like being challenged, which is great. What a great personality
Well,
trait.
I think if you're not if you're not challenged in a healthy way,
Yeah.
then you're not growing it, like, I think. And so, and I think that's been the other really good thing about Virgin, and especially since the pandemic, right? We've been through, so for those who don't know, Virgin Australia was quickly, didn't have a great balance sheet. And as soon as COVID happened, it was dire, and it was unsustainable. And so the company went into voluntary administration, sold and so I went through all of that process, and then was part of the process to sell the company to its eventual buyers, Bain Capital. And now we've come out the other side, and we're a flourishing business. And so I think, and that's true for the industry, right? I think the industry has all had levels of transformation that has been really driven by what we learned through COVID and the position that we found ourselves in after the fact. But it's been super, we've been well funded. So there's actually been, lots of opportunity to transform the business, which in the way that it needed to be really transformed. And a real renewal of focus on who we are, how we are going to be a simple, focused business. And really, the great part has been the role that digital has played in that. And really the stuff that we were doing before COVID, and the roadmap that we charted out, and the potential that we identified is the potential that we're realizing today. So not much has changed. Well, a lot has changed, but a lot of the focus or around how to turn around the business has not changed. And certainly it's embellished and become, richer and more developed. And we've got so many great people on the team now, and where our ability to do things is incredible. But so I think, like, getting back to it, I think be courageous in the decisions that you make around the roles that you take and the situations that you put yourself in. It's not often that the role that I do for an airline comes up at all, and especially as you out, like, in a relative duopoly. And so I took the opportunity, and I'm so glad that I did, because what I've learned in the last 6 years at Virgin Australia has been the most kind of impactful of my career, like administration, selling to private, selling to investors, just the profile of work that I've got to work on. And
I'd love to ask a couple of questions about that, Dan, actually, if that's okay, because it's very rare that, and we've had some bad news with a couple of airlines this week in the UK, excuse me, that you get the result that you guys did. And I put that down to really good leadership and great decision making, right? In a world where we really didn't know what was going on, how long it was going to last, what the outcome was going to be. It was like a bit Armageddon-y there for a little bit. It was horrible. So, that must have been quite an experience to go through, to sail through with the guys. How was that all?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't call it sailing through.
Yes, no, of course. yes. Shopping
But
horses, yeah.
I would say, the bit that I found the hardest really was the people aspect, and how many people had to be stood down throughout that period, how many people lost their jobs. Virgin Australia was already quite a lean business that it didn't really we could stand down people, and it wasn't like some of the other what some of the other airlines had gone through. But what it was kind of getting into a cadence of getting kind of almost comfortable operating in a state of uncertainty. Like we had in Australia, we had states and territories opening up borders, shutting borders. We had we thought it was good so we could sell again, and we wanted to get Australia moving, but then it came back, and so it really just came down to having a really discipline in our cadence of how we tackled things. Either a daily or a weekly cadence, making sure that we kept the communication lines open, but having a lean team who were empowered to make decisions over the course of that time was also super critical. And I've spoken a bit about how great Virgin is to work for in terms of the people, and so there was just this, I guess, this camaraderie that you're kind of in this together. And the airlines, especially in this market in Australia, the demand and the kind of the revenue position and the patterns in flying were very typical. Like they were very predictable. You knew when your troughs were, you knew when your peaks were, and it kind of, we just got into this like rhythm. But then COVID broke all of that rhythm, and there was something exciting about being part of learning on the fly and seeing the changes and hypothesizing why those changes were happening, and being able to, create, solve new problems that were emerging, and all of that. So I really enjoyed that time, to be honest, as hard as it was for on so many.
Of course,
I was happy that I was able to stay engaged through that time. So yeah,
absolutely. It was. I've heard that a few times actually. There was an entrepreneurial spirit. It was like a war spirit almost. Like everybody was in it together, and we were tackling it. And it was like, what was next? Who knew what was coming next? I know the Australian borders were it was a very solid thing for a long time. There was a lot to deal with. For us all globally, but it's wonderful to hear of a story that came out positively after that, because I can see you guys now like absolutely killing it. So it's wonderful. I don't know, when you floated last year as well, that was a really big thing. What is it? It was this year. This year is flying, my word.
Yeah.
But so that was such a great milestone to happen as well. So proud of you all from afar.
Oh, thank you.
It's good. It's good.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? That's actually why I do what I do, is because, and kind of tapping into, what I was saying before about understanding how you connect to the work. For me, it's about connecting people. It's about expanding horizons. It's about reuniting with family, or it's about successful business, or there are a variety of reasons why people fly, but that connectivity is so important for the economy, but for people's lives in general. And so that's what I love. And so for you to say that that you're proud and all of that kind of as a sometimes potential customer, fan of the brand, that means a lot. That means the world.
Absolutely. Well, I love your why as well. It's very, very important. It's great. So that COVID time changed mentalities, I think, in how things are done, and potentially as a catalyst to how the world has moved. And Virgin Australia announced that they were going to be the first airline to go with Sabre, the Mosaic product, and kick off this OOSD space and move into the exciting world of modern retailing. So how is that going? And like, what is the world like for you guys right now?
Oh, it's fantastic.
Yeah. Cool.
And it touches upon some of the things that we've talked about before, but I think just personally, right, I spoke about when I joined Qantas and looking under the covers and saying, oh yeah, no, this is horrible, but like problem solving
opportunities.
I think after I don't know how many years it's been now, almost 15 years of solving those problems, I'm like, yeah, nah, I'm very happy to now be part of the solution to, or part of the enabling solution to be able to deliver the experiences that our customers and our guests deserve and also expect. So, yeah, so we did, and so to found myself in that position where I now get to be part of the solution, and it was always like I was always wanting to be part of Offer Order. I never ever thought that it would probably be at Virgin Virgin Australia that would happen. But it just so happened it did. I read it wrong initially, from afar. Obviously, being part of the business now, I totally understand why. Yeah. So Sabre post administration, or post COVID, is a very different business, I would say, than the one that I kind of first met when I joined Virgin Australia. They've maybe done some soul searching, I don't know, but they have a team now that is intelligent and lovely to work with. They fit our brand values perfectly, and so to be able to partner with them on bringing this Sabre Mosaic to life is really is a career highlight so far, and I hope it continues to deliver in that way. So it's going well. I would say that it has been tough because, when you sit down and look at the scope of what it could be, it's really doing open heart surgery on the airline. It's like, how do you keep running the business and with such aggressive transformation targets and activity? How do you still do this thing on the side, which is creating and testing this, the new world? And so, I think that, we are still growing into it, and it still changes every day, our approach to it. But I think that for any other airline kind of thinking about it, well, everyone's thinking about it, but, you really, or where we've kind of landed and where we've had kind of some success is starting with the high value use cases that are really compelling for your business. And so for us, it's a particular set of things, and for some of the other airline movers, it's been a different set of things, but it's the things that are going to resonate within your business, and actually, things that you've wanted to do for ages but are too cost prohibitive on PSS, or the revenue kind of optimization type use cases as well. I think that if you start there, the rest kind of starts to fan out. But at the end of the day, we're still looking at, for us, tens of thousands of capabilities that, we're partnering with Sabre to build. And that kind of program is massive. So, I'm really proud of the way that our team is approaching it, where, we self-reflect, every month almost. We make changes to our process, to our ceremonies, to our structure, to our resourcing, to make sure that we are kind of continuously getting it right. Very, very kind of contemporary, I think, in our approach to our ways of working. And that's a real credit to the people at VA who are working on the program.
It's amazing, Dan, and really rings true back to keeping everybody on story, on why, on our why, on our, keeping everybody informed on what's going on and getting to the common goal to make sure families can still see each other. Why do we do this every day? I really feel like I speak to some of the CEOs sometimes, and some of the senior leadership, and they because they are so in depth in their day to day, which is of course absolutely where we want them to be, but I do sometimes remind them, like, because you're connecting people, because you're making businesses run, because people are going on holiday because of you, because of there's joy in what you're doing. So really remember that, because it's important.
Totally. Totally. And it's a really good device actually, or technique when you personally find yourself like buried in chaos and
In
finding
the
it
wee bit, or
like
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Dan, thank you so much for today. This is wonderful. I could chat to you for hours. I feel like we're going to have to do a number two. I've got more questions for you on everything, but I so appreciate your time. I know our listeners will as well. What a journey! What a view on everything! Brilliant. And have a lovely rest of your evening. Thank
So
you.
much.